Hello friends, welcome to Ecoholics YouTube channel. Very sorry that I am starting this lecture late. I was trying, but there were some issues with the YouTube system, so I had to do some, you know, jumping and gymnastics here and there to be able to log into this live session. I hope I'm audible and my screen is visible to all of you. I've selected two articles from the Mint newspaper for our discussion. I'm just checking if all my settings are okay, and then we will be on our way. Two very good articles that I want to discuss with you, very relevant, very fresh, very new, right? Something that you will find extremely useful from an exam point of view. Yeah, everything else is fine. So you know that various governments, whether it is government of India, government of states, various governments, various political parties, they rely upon freebies to get themselves re-elected or to get themselves, in the good books of the voters. What are freebies? Free electricity, free water, free this, free that, right? So what is the impact of these freebies on fiscal stability? What is the impact of these freebies so far as regional disparities is concerned? What is the impact of these freebies so far as sustainable development is concerned? And what kind of policy measures are required, right? So that we can probably provide welfare to our masses, to our citizens, without undermining economic discipline in the first place. So it's a very important discussion. आज नहीं तो कल the examiner is going to ask you this question in one format or the other, with the kind of direct benefit transfer schemes being announced by states left, right, and center just before the elections, be it Madhya Pradesh, be it Haryana, be it Maharashtra, be it Jharkhand, right? So this question is going to get asked, and it is better that we are prepared for this question or this kind of question rather than be unprepared and go and surprise ourselves in the examination. So let us start our discussion with this particular article. Very important, extremely important. This article will give you a framework. Like I explained to you, that freebies are a kind of transfer payment. Now this is a word transfer payment which I have used earlier as well. What do I mean by transfer payment? So this is a concept, academic concept, transfer payment, which involves a one-way transfer, right? Without quid pro quo. Without quid pro quo. What do I mean by that? That's a one-way transfer without quid pro quo. Meaning that government of any state or India, let us say, is transferring some benefits to its citizens, right? Without getting anything in return. For example, Government of India is providing 6,000 rupees in PM Kisan to all the Kisans without getting anything in return, right? Similarly in Maharashtra, right? So if you come to Maharashtra and hear a radio channel where every 10 minutes they will start singing that theme song of Maji Ladki Bahin Yojana or something like that, right? So what is the government of Maharashtra doing? They are providing 1500 rupees every month to ladies in a particular age group from a particular socio-economic background, right? Without getting anything in return. So essentially the topic that we are discussing in this particular article is that of transfer payments. So subsidies, freebies, they are a kind of transfer payments. Why are you doing these transfer payments? To help out vulnerable section of society, to help out the underprivileged section of the society, the bottom of the pyramid section of the society, right? Where is the money coming from is the key question. Who is paying for it is the key question, right? What are the choices that we have, not made to make this choice of giving XYZ items for free? So we need to analyze this, and that's what this article will do, right? So as we start this article, we are talking about the Indian political setup, right? Where we promise state-sponsored freebies or giveaways so that we can get voters to support us. Be it free electricity, water, subsidized rice, laptops. We're not targeting a political party here. We're not targeting a particular state here. This is a generic article, right? You pick a political manifesto of any party, a national level party or a regional party, right? You will find such kinds of promises being made regularly, right? The question is that of fiscal strain, right? The question is that of regional imbalance, and the question is that of long-term viability, right? Now the idea is that if the examiner asks you कि बेटा क्या करना चाहिए, what should we do about freebies, please don't tell them that let's ban freebies, right? Let's not say that okay there is no problem whatsoever, जो चल रहा है चलने दो. Neither of these answers are helpful. what you must say is that we need a system which promotes transparency, which ensures fiscal discipline, and which also provides genuine welfare initiatives in a targeted manner, right? Which provides genuine welfare initiatives in a targeted manner. This is what your approach should be. This is what a balanced approach should be. Then you go on to justify yourself. You go on to defend yourself, right? So obviously this practice of announcing freebies, right? This is something which has, picked up a lot of momentum again in the recent months and years, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. I've just said Delhi government is providing free electricity up to 200 units. It is providing free water. It is providing free bus rides for women. It is providing subsidized religious trips for senior citizens, right? So now the thing is that if you look at the Delhi government, or if you look at Delhi, so Delhi has a per capita income of 4,14,711 as per the 2021 prices, right? Now this is a substantial or a good amount of per capita income to have, right? So Delhi government essentially is resource rich, right? And in that sense, they can offer a lot of these freebies without feeling the fiscal strain, because Delhi government is ruling over an area and is generating an amount of revenue such that they can afford to do these things, right? And a lot of these schemes are very popular and politically they get the job done, if you understand what I'm trying to say, right? There are states such as, for example, Tamil Nadu, again a rich state, per capita income above 2 lakh rupees. There is a state of Maharashtra, my state, near an income of 2 lakh rupees, right? So even they can implement these subsidy based schemes, right, without much of a fiscal strain, because they are sitting on capabilities to have substantial own tax revenue, right? And they are in a position to finance these schemes. But from a regional disparity point of view, there are states such as Bihar, right, which will struggle massively to be able to offer such schemes. So Bihar, with a per capita income of merely 50,000 rupees, will not be able to provide these freebies. Forget about, anything else. They are not even able to provide basic services properly, right? So it's not just about Bihar. What we are trying to say over here is that there are states on the top of the socio-economic ladder. There are states which are not having a high enough per capita income. These states and their citizens can benefit from these kinds of subsidies, these kinds of programs. Equal citizens, equal brothers and sisters in other parts of the country who are probably more dependent or who probably need these kinds of schemes more will not be able to get it because their state governments can't afford it. This is not fair. This is not fair. So this regional disparity, right, this will bring about again, a regionally imbalanced development, right? It will bring about some kind of discord. It will bring about some kind of gulf, right? And the uneven nature of this entire politics, right? So wealthier states, they can afford to do this and get away with it. Poorer states can't afford to do it and they cannot do it, and they will lag behind. People over there will lag behind. This is a problem that we need to accept and address. If the central government does it for everybody, or if you do it in a federal manner for everybody, then everybody benefits from it in a systematic manner. But if a political party A does it in a particular state, doesn't do it in another political state, etc., etc., it doesn't help. You cannot have two dramatically different governance outcomes in the same country. There will be tremendous social pressure. There will be tremendous social pressure in our country going ahead, looking at the kind of regional imbalance, looking at the kind of inequality that our systems are breeding. We have to be very, very careful of this, right? This article goes on to give example of Greece. Greece faced a severe financial crisis in the 2000s simply because of their excessive welfare spending program, which they had no way of funding whatsoever, right? So the governments over there, they promised generous pensions, generous social benefits, and that led to unsustainable fiscal deficit, meaning that they kept on borrowing, borrowing and borrowing to a point that they nearly bankrupted themselves, to a point that they nearly precipitated a global financial crisis and then created a problem for others. How did Greece resolve this situation? Eventually, they had to cut back on these programs. They had to adopt very strict austerity measures, meaning that they had to cut back their government expenditure, they had to cut back support, they had to cut back welfare, right? They had to cut back public benefits, right? And that itself created a huge social and economic turmoil. And I don't think that, Greece is completely recovered out of that still, right? Recently, Sri Lanka, they also faced a very similar kind of a financial crisis, right? They had unsustainable subsidies for fuel, food, and electricity. They were overly reliant on dollars coming in from abroad. Because of COVID-19 pandemic associated breakdown, turmoil, these dollars stopped coming in, and the Sri Lankan government realized that they were walking on thin ice. They realized that they cannot do this anymore. So we don't want these kinds of financial meltdowns to happen in our country, to happen for our states. What is the model? Right? One model that you could probably suggest to the examiner may be a Singapore model. Right? So what is the Singapore model? The best thing about the Singapore model is that they offer targeted subsidies. जिसको जरूरत है उसको दो, सबको मत बांट दो. For example, in Delhi, we are providing 200 units of electricity to some of the richest citizens of our country. उनको क्या जरूरत है फुकट की 200 units of electricity की? They don't need it, right? So why are you wasting on it, right? Focus on somebody who needs it. So they offer Singapore, they offer targeted subsidies, and they offer it in essential sectors: healthcare, housing, education, right? And there is a strong focus on self-reliance. That they are not telling the people कि बेटा तुम घर बैठ जाओ, don't do work, we are going to provide this free of cost to you. No sir, sorry. You have to be self-reliant. So the idea is that they have a central provident fund, right? And there is a compulsory saving scheme ongoing that citizens have to save, and government will provide a matching contribution. So the idea is that welfare will be available to all, and everybody has to be contributing to it. So the long-term burden is also contained, right? So again, I'm not doing justice to the Singaporean model, whatever it is, right? But this is the bare minimum that you need to be able to point out in the form of a case study or in the form of a suggestion कि हाँ ये करा जा सकता है. This is something which can be done, right? So if you have an institutional framework in place, if you can deliver welfare effectively, if you can do it without compromising fiscal health, nothing better like that. Now what India needs to do is that whether through election commission or through other regulatory bodies, right, we need to have some kind of transparency and accountability. Because if you remember the Fiscal Responsibility and the Budget Management Act, right, so it was passed in the year 2003, if I'm not wrong, exactly to bring in this kind of transparency and accountability, right, in terms of financial health of the government. That one government before election will announce schemes and programs which will bankrupt the state. Another political party will say that अच्छा अगर ये कर सकते हैं, then even I will do the same thing, right? For example, what is happening in Maharashtra is that somebody has offered 1500 rupees per month, right? So somebody else has said that no, we will provide 3000 rupees per person per month. तो काम कौन करेगा, right? And पैसा कहाँ से आएगा? But who is answering that question? Nobody, right? Nobody is answering that question. So obviously we are not saying that let's ban anything. You cannot ban anything, right? What governments should be asked to do by probably comptroller and auditor general or maybe some such kind of organization is that boss disclose the funding source and disclose, right, what is the economic impact of these schemes, and tell the voters so that they can make an informed decision, right? That are these promises even sustainable in the long run, or are these just earlier we used to give cash before election in a what do you say, in a clandestine manner, right? Now we are offering cash in your bank account openly and calling it a government program, right? So what is it that you are doing? Is it a long-term sustainable program that you can run? And can every state in India run a similar kind of a program? And if not, and if that is injustice, then how do you go about tackling it, right? So these are some serious questions that need to be answered, right? For example, if you are providing free electricity, is it through higher taxes? Is it through borrowing? Is it by not providing, sanitation services, for example? Are you providing free electricity by not providing enough policing? Is that what you are doing, right? So people will be able to know that अच्छा free electricity मिल रहा है लेकिन police नहीं है, right? So then they'll be able to make their choices that whether they are interested in this or not, right? So the idea is that before you make extravagant promises as a political party and you start harming state's financial health, you need to make adequate disclosures, right? Another aspect that you need to address is the universal nature of a lot of these schemes. अब जैसे for example PM Kisan is also nearly universal only, right? You are giving 6,000 rupees to large farmers as well. Why are you giving it to large farmers? They don't need it. In fact, they should be paying income tax, right? Their income is much more than mine, and I am paying a supremely decent amount of income tax to government of India on a yearly basis. So why is it that those farmers who have been having supremely decent income for 30 years, 40 years should not pay any income tax and get 6,000 rupees? I am not getting 6,000 rupees, right? So the question that you need to ask is that, boss, you give it to the most vulnerable section of the society who needs it, and don't give it to all the households. It doesn't make sense. If you remember, when Modi ji got elected for the first time, so he started this Pahal scheme. What was that Pahal scheme? That all of us in India are getting LPG cylinders at a subsidized rate. We shouldn't be getting it because we don't need it. Not all of us need it. So give up on your LPG subsidy scheme. So this is walking back on reforms. If you are giving away cash transfer to everybody who don't need it in a country like India, where there are so many unsolved challenges, why are you doing it? That doesn't make any sense, right? So, and the answer is not ki chalo koi baat nahi, we are giving money, so that will boost aggregate demand in the country, that will boost production in the country, that will boost GDP in the country. This is too simplistic an argument. Don't make these kinds of arguments, right? So don't allow the wealthy section of the society to benefit from state subsidies. Subsidies is a point that you have to make. Institutional reforms are needed so that we are able to bring about proper targeted. What kind of institutional reforms? Being able to track, being able to identify, being able to aim, being able to deliver in a systematic manner is what we need, right? So we need means testing. कि अविनाश को जरूरत है तो दे दो, नहीं जरूरत है तो मत दो. Does he have the means? Yes, he has the means. Don't give him subsidies. He doesn't have the means, give him subsidies. So means testing and targeted subsidies are required. तब जाके resources का optimum utilization होगा. You are students of economics. Economics is a science of scarcity, right? Resources are not infinite. Had resources been infinite, I wouldn't have been crying and whining, right? So the idea is that please focus on creating policy which empower citizens in the long run, right? Development is a long game. China is where it is because of a long run approach. ऐसा नहीं कि आज कुछ भी कर दिया और चलो चलो निकल जाते हैं, चलो, right? Kerala, they had this long view, right? They took long term investments in education and healthcare. They are not relying so much on freebies. So the Kerala model in India has also provided essential services universally in a quality manner, and they are reaping the benefits of the same. On the other hand, Punjab provided free electricity for farmers, and look what happened to underground water table, right? So boss, provide subsidies which are helpful, and don't provide subsidies which cause resource depletion is the suggestion that you have to make, right? So our focus has to be on employment opportunities, upon infrastructure, upon building human capital, right? ये हमारे को करवाना है. ये जो shortcut to get yourself elected, offering 1500 rupees, 2100 rupees before the election, this is not going to be a very sustainable way of doing things for a variety of reasons that I'm trying to highlight. I've got nothing against any A political party or B political party. Like for example, I believe that the electorate in India is smart enough to realize that, you know, who is providing a holistic solution to their problems and not just fall for this trap of, you know, X amount of money, Y amount of money that various political parties are doing, not just A political party or B political party, right? So invest in education, invest in healthcare, invest in job creation, find long-term solutions to poverty and inequality. These are the suggestions that you have to make, right? We have to promote self-reliance. We have to reduce this constant state intervention, right? There is no dignity in taking these freebies, right? They are not a sustainable solution to any long-term developmental challenge or a problem. Obviously, we are not trying to ban them. We have to regulate them, right? And we need to empower our citizens to make an informed decisions and be on the path of long-term prosperity and democratic integrity. Which is why I absolutely loved this article. If you look at this entire discussion from introduction to conclusion, you will be able to appreciate that this article is touching upon a lot of relevant themes. It is touching on a lot of relevant themes. I am requesting you that please try to answer this question. This kind of question, I am telling you, it will come in the examination because of the nature of schemes and the number of schemes which have been launched right now in the last 24 months, 12 months period. You're for sure going to see an question coming up like that, right? Anyways, chaliye. Now let's quickly discuss about EPFO, right? This is a very institutions focused article, right? Narrowly focused article, but thoda sa zaruri hai samajhna ki what's happening in EPFO, right? So your employee provident fund organization, right? So throughout your working year, you contribute an X amount of money to EPFO, and either your employer or the government or somebody or the other राइट, मेक्स एन इक्वल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन, और ऐसे करके आपका एक रिटायरमेंट किटी तैयार होता है, और फिर वो रिटायरमेंट किटी आफ्टर रिटायरिंग यू टेक इट इन अ लंप सम बेसिस और एन एन्युटी बेसिस, इंस्टॉलमेंट बेसिस, व्हाटएवर, एंड सपोर्ट योरसेल्व्स. So employee provident fund organization helps me develop my retirement kitty, right? That is what EPFO does, right? So EPFO का ये काम है, right? अब EPFO के अंदर the problem is of high rejection rate of final settlement claims, right? Now what is happening, let me try to explain this to you. In 2022-23, 34%, meaning 1 out of 3 claims of withdrawal, right? So 1 out of 3 withdrawal applications were rejected, right? 1 out of 3, right? Now this number was 13% in 2017-18, right? Now what is happening is that there has been bogus claims which have been discovered, right? अब जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल there has been a surge in bogus claims after EPFO processes went online, right? So this is a minor explanation कि bogus claim है, right? We need a lot of data to come into the public domain, right? And we need to clearize the picture soon, because what will happen is that if people start believing that the money that they are putting into EPFO is not going to be accessible to them when they need it, they will not put that money in. So government needs to come out with, or the EPFO bosses need to come out clean that what's happening, boss. 1 out of 3 is too much, right? So bona fide claimants, are they being rejected? And if they are being rejected, why? Right? Are there procedural glitches, data entry mismatches, right? So are, क्योंकि कैसा हो सकता है कि my name may have been misspelled, because over the years who has checked how my name has been spelled in EPFO accounts, how have they transferred from manual ledgers into online ledgers, कुछ भी गलती हो सकती है, right? So digital protocols, right, we need to see what they were, right? So definitely EPFO's digitization is a welcome step ahead, right? But ultimately at the end of the day there has to be reliability, right? Because when people are asking for their own hard earned money which they have saved over the years, and then you tell them कि आगे बढ़ो, नहीं देंगे, है ना, नाम बराबर नहीं है, people are not going to take it lightly, right? These are lives at stake, elderly lives at stake, right? We call in India, India is soon going to be a bona fide silver economy, right? Where the number and proportion of elderlies is going to increase and they need to be supported, and EPFO needs to do a better job, right? So the idea over here is that we need to have efficiency gains in EPFO's digitization. In any organization's digitization there has to be efficiency gains. ये जो marginal digitization है, operational digitization है, which doesn't yield the desired results, it's just a waste of money, right? पैसा खाने का तरीका है, right? We need proper digitization which makes somebody's lives easier, right? अब जैसे for example creating subscriber accounts with interest dues, right? So all these can be speeded up, right? I'm not going into the nitty-gritties of this. Okay, so the key message that you have to take from this particular article over here is that a lot of subscribers are struggling, right? They keep struggling for longish periods of time without support, right? Without getting the money that they deserve, right? Delays can happen, right? But these kinds of delays should be avoided, right? There is this whole procedural thing that has been explained over here, that how the EPFO board, it meets in the month of March to set interest rate for the year, right? Then this proposal is sent to finance ministry for approval, which will make an economic assessment, right? Then somebody will offer a lower rate of interest for a variety of reasons, right? So all of these things need to be sped up and the decisions need to be taken in the favor of the retirees, right? Then the labor ministry will come and notify the rate and then it will start crediting, right? तो ये जो पूरा का पूरा जो प्रोसेस है, EPFO board, finance ministry, labor ministry, right? Then finally EPFO will start doing something. All this process needs to be speeded up, right? So A, delay has to be avoided. B, all these glitches and red flags need to be taken care of. C, your digitization, it needs to translate into proper efficiency gains, otherwise don't do it, right? पुराना system चल रहा था उसी को चलाओ, right? Apart from that, government has moved ahead to tax employee contribution to the fund above 2.5 lakh each year, right? So this requires accurate and quick information, right? So that income tax returns can be appropriately filed, right? Now the point is that if you do not file appropriate returns, right, then there can be discrepancy notices, तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए. So for this, EPFO needs to get its act right. Right. Now, given the fact that EPFO is running the main retirement fund and countless workers in India, right, in India's vast organized sector, and I am really laughing at this word vast organized sector because it's not vast enough, right, but let that be for the time being. So EPFO is running the retirement fund for countless workers in India's vast organized sector, so it needs to do something better, right? So new enrollments, right, they have been a source of pride for government because government says that कि अगर EPFO में enrollment बढ़ रहा है मतलब job creation हो रहा है, right? So if the economy is actually formalizing, and that's very good, and if people are joining into EPFO, then things have to be much better, right, in terms of how I am able to manage my account within the EPFO is concerned, right? So this is my second article, very narrowly focused, but I felt that it's better to just discuss it rather than just leave it completely completely undiscussed. So that's why I've just picked it up and quickly discussed it, right? Anyways, my first article was the star of the show, right? I'm telling you that this question is going to come in your examination one way or the other. Please be prepared. If any doubts, please ask, right? I completely focused on talking in this particular lecture, right? Any doubts, please feel free to ask at any point of time. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow again. Sorry I was a little late. Technical issue, not my fault, right? So we'll meet tomorrow again. Thank you. Bye bye.